Over the years, reviewing numerous anime, I've come across some incredible shows that have made an impact on my life and...
Know your fucking place, trash!
You get the point. There are some titles I have yet to review that are notoriously known as the definitive choices for the worst anime of all time.
Are you sure about that?
Like, no matter where you go, there are numerous articles ranking similar titles that have basically been deemed as unwatchable, unthinkable, and unbelievable. So yeah, I'm just gonna watch a few of these for this video and torture myself. Doesn't that sound fun? Great. This is mostly out of curiosity, but I know some of y'all like to watch me suffer. You're welcome. I just genuinely want to see if these 5 anime are as bad as their ratings claim to be. I did look up the top 5 worst picks as chosen by IMDb, only to realize we already reviewed 2 of these shows. Who could forget? So I decided to use the titles rated on my anime list. These are 5 titles that are deemed as legitimate shows with the lowest scores on their site. And when I say legitimate, the site tends to feature all sorts of shorts, art projects, and other shows that are quote-unquote animated in Japan for fair reviews. I've decided to just stick with the original 2022 articles since these 5 particular titles are the most infamous throughout the entire community. Otherwise, I'd be forcing you all to watch Abanai Sisters.
You need to shake it harder!
I have spared you. For now. So let's just rip this band-aid off for good and dumpster dive into the worst of the worst. These 5 anime titles are somehow rated as the worst anime of all time. Let's begin. We're starting off with this infamous title, Psychic Wars, a 50-minute movie made back in 1991 with a My Anime List rating of 3.17 out of 10. Well damn. It's a movie based off of a novel written by Yasuaki Kadota and produced by... You serious? The story is about a well-known renowned surgeon named Dr. Ukio Retsu performing surgery to remove a cancerous tumor from an elderly patient. Despite his best efforts, however, the patient suddenly passes away, but this somehow unlocks a new power born within Retsu. The cancerous tumor he removed was actually a demon, marking the beginning of a war between humans and demons, so it's up to Retsu and his newfound powers to defeat the demons and the evil demon queen for good. Pretty generic and has the vibes of a typical 90s plot where a gifted man saves the world and gets the girl in the end. Plot twist though, his beloved nurse waifu was the demon queen the entire time.
I am the demon queen, but I am also Fuyuko.
What a twist!
Okay, despite its simplicity, the basic plot could have worked and become one of the most nostalgic stories of the 90s. But this adaptation had 2 big issues that gave Psychic Wars its infamous reputation. First of all,
I wouldn't have thought such a thing was possible if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes.
We didn't know what to do and she passed away.
Have you any idea what brought this on? Look, I'll tell you what's going on here later. The truth is, I haven't really been able to figure it out myself yet.
Sir, emote for me. Can you smile? Frown? Show some emotion, you stoic piece of Retsu is the most emotionless Lego piece I have ever encountered. There is no proper reaction that can get the audience to connect with him. Something just happens, he barely shows any form of reaction, and keeps going along with the plot. His patient suddenly dies, but he's too focused on his sudden powers and the connection it has with the old lady. His friends are getting attacked by the tumor demon, he just jumps in and punches the demon with divine powers. Because he totally knew he could suddenly do that now.
Of course.
The only time we ever see him truly react to anything was in the final scene, with his love confessing she's the demon queen. He gets a teeny bit emotional when she confesses everything, screams at her for being a liar, and sheds a couple of tears when she dies.
Yes, very sad.
Anyway.
90s action leads tend to be pretty stoic, but this is ridiculous. There is nothing for us to attach ourselves to his story. He treats a patient, gets powers after she dies. He goes on a quest to defeat all the demons because ghostly priest ladies tell him to do so. He kills all the demons to rescue his girlfriend, proposes to his girl only to find out that she's a demon queen, and defeats her once and for all, which puts an end to this never-ending war. The end! And that's the second major issue, the overall presentation. The story keeps at a ridiculous pace, like we're just being told what's happening at a rapid pace, rather than giving us time to get to know the characters and world building. It feels more like a list of actions rather than an immersive story. Things just happen with no real explanation or time to breathe. Retsu is operating. Next. He goes to a shrine and finds out he has powers. Next. Patient dies. Next. The tumor turns into a demon and Retsu kills it with his bare hands. Next! I get that there's only 50 minutes to tell the whole story, but this honestly should have been made into a series or a much longer film in order for the audience to get invested. Maybe it was just made to advertise the book, but they didn't really do a good job if that was the case. Overall, Psychic Wars had potential, but it was executed poorly. Does it deserve its rating though? I mean, I kind of want to say yes, mainly because it was rushed through production and it ended up being really, really boring. Some shows are built to have a story centered around a mascot-like character. What I mean is, there are stories where it's all to show how interesting the main character is, to the point where we'd like to see more of them, like on merchandise, at events, and even at Red Cross blood drives. Look, seriously, Japan knows exactly what it's doing. They influenced an entire generation to get back into horse racing by just giving them horse girls. You cannot say Japan does not know what it's doing and that I never told you so. Literally, that seems to be the key to everything. If there's a certain event or sport that's dying from the fanbase, give them waifus. Problem solved.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
Anyways, one concept from the 1970s was a manga focused on a bubbly space girl, Nora Scholar. She had one manga volume focusing on her positive nature when she finds herself in dangerous situations throughout space. This somehow prompted Studio Film Link International to give Nora her own OVA special called, well, Nora, released to home video around January 1985. It was a relatively dumb OVA about an AI computer trying to wipe out humanity, only to be convinced not to by Nora, with her spunky, chipper, can-do, know-how, Little Miss Sunshine positive attitude. But yeah, she convinced an advanced AI computer to not kill us all, and it actually falls in love with her.
Oh my.
I can count how many brain cells I have lost watching this with 3 hands. This special, for obvious reasons, didn't do so well and walked away with a low rating of 4.32. But maybe if Studio Film Link gave her one more wow. How could it get any worse than the prequel though? No. This is not a finished product. This is an actual episode of Dora the Explorer.
Hola! Can you count the frames? Let's count the frames. 1, 2, 2. 2 frames per second.
Shout out to Shalane the Insane, because I stole that joke from him.
I can count the frames. I can make this into like a Dora the Explorer segment. Can you count the frames? Let's count the frames.
Remember when I used to make those old cartoons on Pop Spectrum? Look, I'm not gonna say I can animate better than this, but at least I have more frame rates. Booga booga! Ah, crap. This was just me animating these cartoons. This is a professional studio, full of animators who are supposed to know what they're doing. The story itself is just more Nora fluff like the first special. She's a bounty hunter who somehow got powers, as you do, and she's hunting down an incredibly powerful space wizard. Of course she is. And she proves that with confidence and positivity, she can take down any man, no matter how big or small they are. As you should, bestie. Yeah, nah, this is definitely deserving of its rating. This honestly has to be one of the cheapest shows I have ever seen, and possibly one of the worst animated shows of all time. Okay, I spoke too soon. So Crunchyroll thought it'd be a great idea to, produce their own anime. So despite promising to donate some of their subscription revenue back to the animation studios working tirelessly to produce the anime we consume on a daily basis, especially on this particular website, they thought it'd be a better idea to create their own, with several projects ranging from okay to I don't give a fuck. X-Arms has to be the one project that single-handedly ruined their entire reputation. With a laughable budget that went mostly towards vocal talents and motion capturing for the action shots, they spared no expense, as you can tell. Oh, did I mention that this was directed by a man who's never directed or been a part of any animation projects in his entire life? Yeah, he's directed action flicks like Hike Kick Girl, and he was in charge of an animation project. Do you understand the problem here?
What could possibly go wrong?
I mean, look. Just look. Look at it. Seriously, look at it!
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! I want all of you to look at it!
Remind me again, when was this released? 2021. 2021. Disgusting. I mean, if the pandemic was going to impact your production, at least cancel it instead of releasing this shit. This is downright deplorable. Do you not see this monstrosity? How can you even release it? I mean, we have a series that has masterfully combined every form of animation under the sun in the amazing world of Gumball, and then there's this cheap-looking blight upon humanity. It only distracts us from the overall story, which is... Wait, what was X-Arms about again?
And then this.
A boy dies by getting hit by truck-kun, but instead of getting isekai'd, his brain gets transported into a device, which turns him into an X-Arms. Don't ask me what an X-Arm is, I just know it could be a good or bad thing. It's supposedly a weapon of mass destruction. They didn't really specify, but yeah, he can use his powers as an X-Arm to stop all sorts of crime with his new besties, I guess.
I get it.
I don't get it.
Hey, have you seen that one video from that YouTuber, Ish, where he puts 1,000 Minecraft players into 2 different environments to see what kind of civilization they could create? Look, I've never really played too much of Minecraft, not really my thing, but I found myself more invested in a scriptless, experimental scenario and the epic setup created by Fluxian and Saporata than whatever the hell X-Arms was. Okay, seriously, what score did this thing get again? 2.88. No, that's not low enough. This whole project is a gigantic corporate mess. And the worst part of it all, they ruined any chance for a decent adaptation for the mangakas who created this story. I mean, the overall reception of the X-Arms manga wasn't too bad, and the artwork is downright impressive, but its reputation has been forevermore tarnished thanks to Crunchyroll and their cheap decisions. It was never confirmed whether or not the creators stopped the manga because of the immense backlash from the anime, but many people honestly believe it is. Such a waste. So disappointing. How could it get any worse than this? Well, apparently, with a score of 2.23, this one is somehow worse than X-Arms. Help me. Mars of Destruction is a short OVA special based off of a PlayStation 2 visual novel of the same name. You can pretty much guess that this was made to advertise the game itself, but while most other visual novels move on to success or live out in hilarious infamy, Mars of Destruction has the reputation of being both cheap and confusing. It shares the same quick setup as Psychic Wars by showing scenes and telling us what the plot is without getting to know the characters and why any of us should even care about this. To summarize, Mars of Destruction is about a group of teenagers fighting off powerful creatures called Ancients aiming to destroy humanity. There's a suit called Mars Suit that's fully capable of destroying these Ancients, but it can only be worn by capable individuals. Takeru Hinata is the one chosen to wear the suit, but despite his reluctance and resistance, his father forces him to wear the suit and fight. This sounds familiar.
お前がマルスを着るんだ。
嫌だよ。なんで俺が着なくちゃならないんだよ。
Get in the Ava, Takeru! That just came out of nowhere. So yeah, not only is this a rushed and cheap adaptation, this is also a complete ripoff. You seriously cannot convince me that this isn't a cheap copy of Neon Genesis Evangelion, but with less story and more teenage girls. Priorities. Even if this wasn't a cheap ripoff, this special is supposed to convince us to buy the game? You serious? Even if the plot is explained to us, I'm literally not interested because I literally don't care about any of these characters. I don't know any of them, but I'm supposed to know who they are and what they're doing. Not to mention, the animation is abysmal. I get that there's literally no animation when it comes to visual novels, but you call this an action scene? Hey, I'm suddenly in the mood to watch some Looney Tunes. How about you guys? Okay, was this OVA special done so cheaply that they had to rely on royalty-free orchestrations as their background music? I'm not hating, but wow, did they want us to feel more cultured watching this dumpster fire with classical music in the background? Because I don't. If it was just an OVA special with us getting to know the characters and their struggles, that'd be one thing. But this was a poorly made adaptation that came off as cheap, soulless, and lazy. And worst of all, they had the audacity to copy Evangelion. And now we have reached the pinnacle, the one title that has been labeled as the genuine worst anime of all time, with a low score of, oh Jesus, we actually went below 2. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the most infamous title of them all, Skelter Heaven.
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening!
And guess what? It's not only another product made to promote its own visual novel for the PlayStation 2, but it's from the same company that actually made Mars of Destruction. Oh goody! So yeah, it's basically another mecha waifu harem anime that's not necessarily ripping off Evangelion, but more so inspired by it. That doesn't help. I mean, at the very least, this show doesn't have daddy issues like Takeru and Shinji, but what it does have is, overly emotional love triangles. I think that's actually worse. So the plot is, Blooper. Hello. Blooper's attacking the city. An organization equipped to attack Blooper summon our main heroes to save the day. But alas, they just have to take their sweet time getting there. They might as well get a manicure and some boba tea at this rate. Take your time. The city can wait, but you girlies, take your time. The captain of the girl squad chooses Ren to lead the mission, making another team member, Misaki, instantly jealous and whiny that Senpai didn't choose her and nobody likes me. You just want to choose her for every mission. How much of the city is gone at this point? Blooper? You good, buddy? The animation is so cheap you can't even tell he's destroying anything. Blank, damn it, blank! Oh Oh, not what I meant. Hi. Within the last 8 minutes of this, thing, awkward flashbacks are just thrown into the editing, here, there, everywhere, just to give us more exposition. But it's so poorly edited, like, watch. I didn't cut any of that. These exposition cuts are timed so poorly that, oh my god! That was plot. That was plot, ladies and gentlemen. Plot. Yeah, this OVA makes no sense and we're throwing shit on the wall to see what sticks, but here you go. Plot. This is what otakus want, right?
Ooh. Anime sure is weird.
Anyways, while the previous entries like Mars of Destruction and Psychic Wars didn't have enough charm or character to get us invested in their stories, Skelter Heaven does the complete opposite by overwhelming us with bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. Wasting a minute in awkward space despite having a total runtime of 18 minutes? Bad. Using up the next 9 minutes to introduce us to our girls while treating a devastating world disaster like it's no big deal? Bad. Throwing in the world's fastest love triangle with overly emotional crying girls and screaming their way through the story? Bad. Throwing in random exposition shots in an attempt to give us more backstories to our characters despite the awkward timing? Bad. Bad. And why? There was no direction with this, was there? The studio was just told to make a product to advertise the game and literally tried to jam in everything but the kitchen sink. It's a mess. A giant, overwhelming mess. But is it really the worst anime of all time? Overall, I could see where 4 out of 5 of these were going. Psychic Wars was a rushed movie on a budget that deserved more time and development. Nora could have honestly been an iconic heroine of her time, just like Honey Flash, if her studio was given a bigger budget. Mars of Destruction and Skelter Heaven were trying to advertise their games, but their productions were directed in the most awkward and cheapest way possible. They deserve low rankings as a warning to future productions as to what can happen if you try to be cheap with animation. But notice how I said 4 out of 5. Legitimately, my choice for the worst anime ever made now is without a doubt X-Arms. And I know many years ago when I used to do the anime awards, I put Yasuke over X-Arms as being the worst, considering how Netflix had 0 issues underpaying MAPPA Studio animators. But you know, I'm actually at a point where I'm now considering both to be the worst anime ever made. These were 2 titles handled by American companies, and they were directed differently, but in the worst ways possible. Both shows had terrible stories. Yasuke had decent animation, but at the cost of underpaying animators that are already struggling to make ends meet. X-Arms had horrible animation because their director, which again had 0 experience with animation, blew their entire budget on 3D modeling, voice acting, and motion capturing, literally relying on scraps to barely finish their show. I would honestly watch the other 4 shows again and again and again on a bad movie night watching or something and just had the freaking time of my life. Like seriously, these titles are so bad, they're hilarious at this point. X-Arms and Yasuke though, I will never ever touch again. They are both modern adaptations that have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of examples, including the other 4 titles, to know the do's and don'ts of animation. Yasuke and X-Arms have 0 excuses. They're both horribly, cheaply made products as the result of corporate mismanagement, and at a point in our lives where we've come a long way through the history of animation, it's downright inexcusable. And if you're gonna bring the pandemic into the argument, one could argue they should have just canceled both productions. Well, that was fun. Just let me ask you, what do you think is the worst anime ever made? Let me know in the comments down below. Special thanks go to my amazing Patreon supporters for helping me keep this channel alive. And honestly, to everyone who watched my recent video and started watching my old videos, thank you. Like, seriously, it honestly touched my heart to see my old videos getting a lot of love, including my very first one from nearly 20 years ago. My god, where does the time go? Anyways, but seriously, thank you to everyone for watching my videos and for supporting me. More awesome videos will be on the way, so stay tuned to Anime America.